Have you ever wondered about the strangest secrets hidden in history? I'm Julia, your guide to uncovering the wild, the weird, and the wonderful from centuries past. Welcome to Julia's Storytime, where every tale is more bizarre than fiction. Egypt, the land of pyramids, mummies, and apparently the OG sex tech industry. While other ancient civilizations were busy figuring out fire or inventing beer, priorities people, the Egyptians looked at their perfectly bronzed lives and said, how do we make self-care extra? Let's start with Ra, the sun god, because of course this story begins with a dude thinking his junk is magical. Picture this. The universe is nothing but an awkward void. No Netflix, no Instagram, just Ra sitting there like, well, someone's got to do it. So what does he do? He rolls up his sleeves, gets to work, and poof, out pop shoe, air, and Tefnut, moisture. That's right, the entire cosmos starts with divine DIY. You're welcome, universe. Naturally, the Egyptians took this myth and ran with it. If Ra can literally make the world with his hands-on approach, then hey, maybe my private moments are sacred too. And thus, the sex toy industry was born, or at least the bronze-plated version of it. For noblemen, it was all about hollow bronze rods, 15 centimetres of polished elegance, complete with lotus engravings and deities saying, "Go forth and prosper." Functionality meets bling, because nothing says power move like a gold-tinted you-know-what. But let's skip the dudes, because honestly, they're not the headline here. The real buzz, pun absolutely intended, comes from the queens, literally. Enter Cleopatra and the honeybee-powered vibrator. Yes, you heard that right. Legend has it that Cleo, or some equally innovative Egyptian badass, took a hollow gourd, filled it with live bees, sealed it tight, and let those little buzzers handle the rest. Risky? Sure. Revolutionary? Absolutely. It's basically nature's vibrator, sustainable, zero carbon emissions, and wildly effective. Honestly, we should give her a patent. And you thought you were clever for figuring out how to use your electric toothbrush. Meanwhile, over in the commoner's corner, things were more, let's call it DIY chic. Clay rods got the job done, functional, sturdy, and hey, if it broke, you just made another one. It was the ancient IKEA of self-care, minus the confusing instructions. For women, polished stone rods were the go-to, durable enough to survive the ages and no elephants were harmed. But, no matter the material, everyone was apparently getting in on the Ray-inspired action. So, let's give credit where credit is due. While other civilizations were out there inventing boring stuff like the wheel, Egypt was buzzing with innovation. Literally. Bees, people, bees. If you thought ancient Egypt's buzzing bee vibrators were the height of creativity, hold on to your olive wreaths, because Greece and Rome are about to prove that human ingenuity, especially in the name of self-care, knows no bounds. These folks took treat your body like a temple and ran with it, transforming bathhouses into wellness centres, debate hubs, and, naturally, discreet shopping malls for personal tools. Turns out, the human obsession with multitasking and making money hasn't changed much in thousands of years. In ancient bathhouses, it wasn't just about washing off the grime of the day, oh no. Some bathhouse owners struck secret deals with artisans to sell special tools under the guise of medical necessity. And here's the kicker, these weren't items casually displayed on a shelf. No, you had to show up on specific days, use a password, and make the exchange in hushed tones. It was basically the original version of an exclusive drop. Move over, Supreme. Ancient Romans invented limited editions. Now, let's talk about the tools. Greek and Roman men started simple. Hollow clay rods, functional and affordable. But because these civilizations couldn't leave anything unembellished, they added artistic flair. Mythological scenes, geometric patterns, and, if you were wealthy enough, hidden symbols that only appeared under the right light. These secret etchings were often tied to Aphrodite, the goddess of love, because apparently even your clay companion needed a divine blessing. And the women? Oh, they had options too, though their tools came with a touch of pseudoscience. Greek doctors prescribed hollow wax rods and ceramic sticks for everything from menstrual cramps to uterine discomfort. But they didn't stop there. Wax rods were infused with seasonal herbs that supposedly enhanced their therapeutic effects. Spring, add lavender, summer, a splash of mint. Some of these herbs were so rare they had to be gathered from cliffs or dangerous forests, because nothing screams self-care, like almost dying for time. Of course, olive oil was the star of the show. Noble women slathered their tools in the stuff, making it the ancient version of coconut oil, good for salads, skin, and, apparently, much more. Common women went the DIY route, crafting simpler tools and using whatever they could get at the local market. It's basically Pinterest, but make it ancient. So, there you have it. Greece and Rome, the birthplace of democracy, aqueducts, and, apparently, some seriously innovative marketing strategies. Whether it's whispered transactions in a steamy bathhouse or herb-infused wellness tools, one thing is clear. Humans have always been exceptionally good at mixing creativity with capitalism. Okay, next, if you thought ancient Greece and Rome's bathhouse black markets were wild, just wait until you hear what Edo Japan and ancient China were up to. Forget boring old clay or bronze. These cultures didn't just innovate, they went all in on bamboo, food, and personalised craftsmanship. Yes, personalised. In Edo, Japan, while the upper class flaunted lacquered bamboo tubes as a weirdly elegant flex, the real star of the show was far more practical and edible. Enter the lotus root. Women in rural Japan figured out that peeling and sun-drying lotus roots turned them into smooth white cylinders. And here's the kicker. When rubbed, the lotus root naturally secreted a slippery sap, making it the ultimate multitasking tool. Dinner side dish? Check. DIY self-care? Double check. Honestly, they might have invented the first organic 2-in-1 product. But let's not stop there. Men had their own unconventional tool, the infamous sheep eye ring. Made from real sheep eyes, yes, the ones with eyelashes, these rings retained elasticity and were worn during intercourse. The eyelashes, left intact to enhance stimulation. Talk about getting creative with what's in the barnyard. This might be the first recorded instance of a novelty product. Over in ancient China, bamboo was the go-to material for discreet self-care. Hollow bamboo cylinders looked like innocent water containers, but came with a hidden purpose. However, the Chinese weren't about to stop at functional. Oh no. They added a touch of mysticism. Some bamboo tools were engraved with Taoist symbols to align the user's ki and enhance vitality. But here's where things get even more interesting. For women, tools could be custom-made based on their birth charts. Yes, you read that right. Personalised, astrology-inspired pleasure tools. Imagine it. You show up to the craftsman, hand over your birth date, and voila, a bamboo tool carved with symbols uniquely tailored to your cosmic vibes. And here's the practical side. With your specific chart engraved, there was no chance of accidentally mixing it up with someone else's. Hygienic and astrologically accurate. Honestly, it's genius. People today think monogrammed towels are fancy, but the ancient Chinese were light years ahead. Of course, this wasn't just for fun. Physicians pitched these as therapeutic tools to improve circulation and reproductive health, because slapping a medical label on it always helps with sales, even thousands of years ago. Next stop, the medieval Arab world, where self-care went from functional to downright luxurious. They turned self-care into an art form, from glass rods shimmering with mythical crystals to leather dolls stitched together on long sea voyages. Arab men didn't settle for ordinary tools. They had glass rods, smooth, hollow, and often infused with fragrant oils like sandalwood or rose. But wait, it gets better. Some of these rods were embedded with tiny crystal particles that shimmered under light, creating a dazzling display during use. And the kicker. These crystals were said to come from mythical caves, believed to hold magical energy. Did they really enhance the experience? Who knows, but the idea was enough to make them irresistible to anyone with the money and imagination. And while we're on the topic of exotic innovation, let's talk about the spice merchants. Constantly travelling between bustling bazaars and distant lands, they had plenty of time and need to get creative. Some merchants designed travel tools for long journeys, complete with compact storage cases and even decorative elements for a touch of flair on the road. Speaking of travel, let's not forget the sailors. Spending months at sea wasn't easy, so some resourceful seafarers crafted travelling ladies, leather dolls sewn to resemble women. These were essentially the medieval precursor to modern inflatable dolls, providing a somewhat unconventional way to combat the loneliness of the open ocean. For women, ceramic rods were the go-to, often engraved with delicate floral patterns or Arabic calligraphy. But for those with a taste for luxury, some tools came adorned with tiny pearls that weren't just decorative. These rare gems were said to emit a faint fragrance after undergoing a secret treatment. And where did they come from? Supposedly, only under the light of a full moon in specific sea regions could these pearls be harvested. True or not, the story added an air of mystery that made these tools even more desirable. Victorian England, a time when everyone pretended to be proper, while secretly turning their wildest ideas into medical devices. Behind all the moral posturing and tea-sipping, the Industrial Revolution was quietly churning out innovations that powered more than just factories. Victorian men had no shortage of options for discreet self-care, thanks to rubber, a miracle material of the Industrial Revolution. Hollow rubber tubes with replaceable liners became the standard, offering a hygienic and functional alternative to clunky wooden or metal devices. But for the wealthy, the experience went beyond practicality. Enter high-end rubber tools filled with a mysterious liquid said to mimic lifelike sensations. This liquid, reportedly developed by a secretive apothecary, would react to the user's body heat and movements, creating an almost living feel. Of course, these luxury tools were only available to the richest men, proving that even in private matters, wealth had its perks. Victorian doctors had a simple solution for women's problems: call it hysteria and break out the vibrators. Early tools included the hand-cranked vibratory massager, created not for women's pleasure, but to save doctors from carpal tunnel during pelvic massage treatments. Imagine the sales pitch: save your hands, save her sanity. These devices were clunky but effective, and it wasn't long before women figured out how to use them at home. Sans doctor. Things got wild in the 1870s with the invention of the steam-powered pelvic massager. This massive, clanking beast looked like a runaway steam engine, but delivered vibrations that got the job done. Sure, it wasn't portable, and it probably made enough noise to wake the neighbours. But hey, who's complaining when the results speak for themselves? And for the wealthy, vibrators became the it accessory. Some were disguised as jewellery boxes or even decorated with pearls and lace. One model even boasted multiple modes, with marketing claims that one setting could bring about a spiritual awakening. These ornate devices were more about flaunting wealth than subtlety, but who could resist something that doubled as home decor? Of course, no one could openly advertise these tools for what they really were. Men's devices were sold as hygienic sleeves, while women's vibrators were marketed as medical instruments to improve circulation. But the Victorians didn't stop there. They hid vibrators in plain sight, disguising them as flower vases, ornate clocks, or even random household items. Imagine your nosy neighbour pointing out your lovely mantelpiece while having no clue it could vibrate with the turn of a key. Genius, right? Thanks for joining me on this journey through history's most curious corners. If you love stories that surprise and intrigue, don't forget to subscribe to Julia's Storytime for more unforgettable tales. See you next time.